The rest RN comes from this really foundational part of how I coach, that rest is essential and rest is a productive activity. And it is the critical missing piece in most of our own wellness plans and our own health. And especially for nurses, we are in jobs that are really, really stressful. And we're not given the skills or taught how to deal with stress. It's a huge gap in our education. It's a huge gap in our training. And because we don't have that education, then what happens is we suffer a lot of health issues because of stress that's just rampant and we don't know how to shut it off. We suffer with a lot of sleep issues because of the stress of our jobs. And modern life itself is stressful too. So not only are we dealing with being nurses, we're also dealing with being people in modern life and dealing with all the other things that we have on our plate. And so for me, and that was a huge missing piece that I discovered after I burnt out for the first time in one of my first nursing jobs. And I didn't want to do that again. And so I was like, how do I do things differently? And discovered that a foundational piece of wellness is learning how to manage your stress and learning how to sleep well.
I definitely found it was a turning point for me when I discovered, one, how much stress I was in. I don't think I realized like how much I was clenching my body, especially my teeth. Even as a kid, I would bite my lip a lot when I would get like excited or anything. And as an adult, that translated to when I was stressed, I would really clench down on my jaw to the point where I didn't even notice that I was doing it until I just focused on being more aware of my body in the moment. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I feel so tense in my entire body, like my shoulders, my neck, my jaw. So I feel like I struggled even like knowing that I was stressed. So I feel like recognition is such a big part of it because you do burn out when you're in that constant fight or flight. I definitely burnt out too. Like your foundation is sleep. So much healing happens in your sleep. So yeah, I'm so happy that you're supporting people in this way because I suffered from both of those issues and my life has changed so much for the better now that I've handled some of those things in my own way. So I'm sure that the nurses that you're taking care of really benefit from this.
Yeah, I like to say I'm a recovering chronic stressor and overachiever because I lived most of my adult life and even looking back as a teenager in this state of constant doing and doing the next thing and achieving the next thing. And if I had any time, then it had to be filled with something. And that was a long years and years and years of that. And I was never taught how to actually recover and how to take care of myself and how to create space for my own wellness. And then I got to a point where my body was like, no, we can't do this anymore. We're not meant to live in this state of stress. We're designed to be able to meet stressors. I mean, we have the fight or flight response for a good reason. It's very effective, but we're supposed to recover from it. We're supposed to get out of it and live most of our life in the rest and digest state. And when we live most of our life in the fight or flight state, it does a lot of damage, not just to our physical body, but also to our emotional state and our mental health. And we just never actually heal and recover. And so now that I am functioning differently, it's like night and day, and how I can navigate the stressors of life, but also recover from them. And I have so much more space in my day, but I also feel like I am still as productive, if not more productive, because I'm focusing my energy on what's really important. And I've kind of cut out the stuff that are energy drains or not important to me or not necessary. And so I feel like I know that I'm actually able to accomplish what I want to accomplish without doing all the extra stuff that wasn't necessary.
You know, you make a good point. I definitely use like a lot of time blocking and lists to keep track of what I need to get done. And while definitely my stress has become a lot lower, I have become a lot more focused as a person. And I definitely feel like my, I guess, day to day hasn't suffered. So that's a good point there too. Can I ask, are you a firstborn child by chance?
Yes, very much
Yeah,
so.
I am too.
Firstborn daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, you talk like how I feel. So yeah. Sorry for anyone listening that could hear my cackle right now. Yeah, I just like recognize another firstborn, like overachiever daughter when I see one. Yeah.
Right. I hear you. Yep.
You're a recovering
And
firstborn.
right. And
Yeah.
it's interesting though, that type of personality
Yes.
um tends to find its way into healthcare and tends to find its way into nursing. And part of it, I think, is because of how the education is set up. You are really kind of forced to be really, really focused and really focus on achievements.
Yeah.
And that's also really rewarded, like
Yes.
you almost have to have perfection. You do have to have
Uh-huh.
perfection to even get into nursing school and to make it through.
Absolutely.
And so it really kind of sets up, well, I think it trains you or reinforces those patterns that got you there, but
Yeah.
really aren't that healthy. But
Yeah.
they serve you to get you through school, or to allow you to manage kind of how a lot of nursing is set up.
Yeah.
But then our health suffers.
Yeah.
So
No, you burn out. Yeah.
yeah, you burn out. And also too, like you said, that you weren't even really aware how stressed you were.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know either. Like that was just normal. That was just,
Yeah,
you're a
as an
contributing member.
overachiever. Yeah,
Mhm. You're,
exactly. That was just
yeah.
my day to day. I grinded. That's what I did. I did one task and then another task. And it's like the dopamine hit of doing one thing after another. Like, this is what I've done all day. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
yeah, at the end of the day, though, it's hard to shut off that brain. It's hard to relax and settle back down to yourself. So I definitely found ways to create like a very large buffer. Like I'm a writer. And I noticed that like my writing brain is working at like such a high like velocity. I'm like just pulling words out of nowhere that I couldn't write. Like I think the buffer now is like 3 hours before bed. I cannot write because my brain is just like going. So I definitely had to like tweak my workflow to like support my sleep. But before I was like, why can't I sleep? I just like wrote like 1,000 words on diabetes right before bed. So yeah, that's really tough too, that overachieving and like working on top of that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point too, that when we are used to being in that state of
Hmm.
activation, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so used to it. It's not for always even fight or flight, just like always activated on
Yeah.
what's next? What are we doing next? How can I be productive? I have to be doing something.
Hmm.
When we shift out of that, it feels really uncomfortable because we're
Yeah.
not used to it. And so that's also part of what I work with clients is getting comfortable with authentic rest
Hmm.
and shifting our mindset that this actually is essential and it is doing something for us. It is
Absolutely.
productive, but not in the way we're used to. It's not checking off a to-do list. It is, doing something positive for our bodies and our brains and our emotions, but it feels different and it can feel really uncomfortable. And there's also a lot, sometimes guilt that
Hmm.
comes up with that. Like I should be doing something else,
Yeah.
or why have I just, sat here and read this book for an hour? Dang
Yeah.
it, I should have done something else. And so there's a lot of shifting in mindset that has to happen because of that.
Yeah, I think in this day and age, we definitely put a lot of value in what we've accomplished for like a set amount of time. So when we do take a break and sit back, it almost like devalues us to a certain viewpoint. So I can definitely understand that you work with mindset shifts like within your like coaching and your daily support that you offer people. I could see that being a very big part of the coaching that you offer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because our thoughts first, how we think about things and how we believe our beliefs directly impact our actions, and even our thoughts and emotions. So, if we believe that to be valuable, we have to be doing something or we have to be accomplishing something, then that belief is going to drive our behaviors and we are going to feel really guilty and uncomfortable when we rest and take care of ourselves. And so we do have to examine those and get curious. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable to bring up some of those beliefs and realize like, oh wow, I do believe that it's not serving me anymore. I can shift it.
Yeah.
But just also you have to identify things to be able to change them. So that awareness is always the first step of any sort of habit change or transformation, is looking at with curiosity what the current situation is.
Well said. Very well said. So